Hello mentors, this is meeting 6 fall 2017 planning a vacation, and this will be a quick overview of the material for the meeting. So first there's the checklist, the usual checklist, and this time we also include some important teaching tips which can help you make the teaching more dynamic, so make sure you read those tips. Then we have the activity breakdown. So activity 1, number talks, should be 15 minutes. Activity 2, managing finance, 20 minutes. Then there's math assessment, 5 minutes. And finally, making decisions, 35 minutes. So that's the longest activity. The math goals are, to understand and solve proportionality problems, to use tree representations for counting, as we did in the previous meeting. And then this is really interesting. This is the first time we do this. When presented with mathematical situations requiring to make a choice, students can actually make sound choices and give valid reasons to justify them. And finally, read and understand formal instructions, which are functions to produce values and interpret different sets of instructions. These are the materials, location, so that's in your instructor manual. There's a MathCO Facebook page and a YouTube channel that you can look. Individual assessment, as usual, behavior expectations, and some usual teaching tips. So number talks is similar, very similar to the one you did in meeting number 3. So we'll go quickly about this. And then managing finances is all about understanding and solving problems about proportionality, ratios or percentages, things that involve proportionality, using both a visual method and using equations. So in other videos, we'll explore these problems in detail. And so there's a lot of problems that you can pick up. You don't have to go through all of them, just choose some. And depending on, how advanced your students are, you can choose the difficulty level. So I guess J and I are quite involved, but yeah. Then last activity, making decisions. And so the goal is to explore numerical situations and use mathematics as a tool to reason out what's the best way to tackle these situations. So basically there's 2 parts for this activity, and 3.1 it's all about counting, and 3.2 there's 5 activities which are the following: museum prices, traffic times, choosing a hotel, bus tickets, and fancy market. And these activities are independent, and you can explore the ones that you like or the ones that your student like. You don't have to do them all. Just choose the ones that are more meaningful and do them well. And so let's quickly go about this. So part 1 is flying. So you have actually 30 different plane tickets. And why 30 is because 5 times 2 times 3 is 30. You can choose 5 days, day or night in the time, and cheap, standard, or deluxe in terms of the fare. And so there's some questions that are basic counting, and students should be able to do this because they did the similar things in random poetry, the activity from meeting 5. So this is to make this systematic, to consolidate that knowledge of tree representation for counting when you have independent events, right? So these are solutions, and these are other questions with solutions that you can read in your instructor manual. And then part 3.2 breaks again into 5 parts. So let's quickly go over them. Museum prices, which is about percentage increase. And this is interesting because they're asking for the average increase. So you can either take average first and then do the increase, or do the increase separately. So increase on Saturday and increase on Sunday, and then take the average. And this works either way is fine, and students should discover that. In traffic times, we give a table with 4 entries, but we only give 3 entries, and kids need to predict what's going to be the time, the expected time for weekend night. And so there's several ways to reason this out. There's no unique answer, but whatever answer the students give, they should give mathematical arguments. So your job is to predict this entry based on the other 3. So this is a prediction or projection problem. Students may not be used to that because they may think, oh, it's math, there's always, a right answer. a unique one, but that's not the case here. So explore this multidimensional classroom property of this problem. These are solutions. And then choosing a hotel. So this is similar in the sense that there's no a unique solution necessarily. So you're interested in searching for the best hotel, and there's 4 zones. And each zone has the following information: number of hotels, how many there are, the average price in the zone, and the price range, which is defined as the maximum price minus the minimum price. So it's a number. Okay, it's not an interval here, it's just a number. And based on this data, they have to compare and choose one of the zones in which they would search to find the best deal. This is dealing with uncertainty. This is, probability and statistics, and it's a very good skill. So they have to argue conceptually what's the best choice. And there's not necessarily, as I said, a unique answer because there's impartial information. We're not entirely sure, but you should have this talk with your students and discuss what's the best option. So these are the answers, or rather than the exact answers, some discussion on what should you be talking to your students. I guess we say that the least favorite zone will be B, and the best zones probably A and C. So read on that, see if you agree. Now, bus tickets is interesting because it's an invitation to programming, which is a very important skill in STEM. Remember that this program is not just math, but also STEM skills. And so here we're promoting that. There's 4 programs, and these 4 programs are ways that the bus company or the bus ticket company give you to collect tickets. So they have to make sense of these instructions. What do you do? For example, in program 1, which is the simplest one, you just roll 2 dice, X and Y, those are the value. Then you just add 1 to the first die roll. You do nothing with the second one, and you just collect that number of tickets. So for example, in program 1, if I roll, a 4 for my X, then I will be collecting 5 tickets because 4 plus 1 is 5. Program 2, 3, and 4 are a little more involved, and so the kids need to explore these options and come up with what's the best situation. Answers are here. So except for program 3, the other programs are almost the same in terms of the expected value. They're going to give you 4.5. Around 4.5 tickets per day, and so kids should explore and be able to discover these facts. This is probably the most challenging problem on this meeting. It's okay if you don't do it, and it's okay if you don't get to finish the computation for expected values. That's okay. The really important thing in this problem is that they make sense of instructions, and these instructions are really functions, mathematically speaking. This is a function that takes 2 values in order, right? The roll of 2 dice from 1 to 6, and creates in some reasonable way here, an definite way, a unique value. Finally, fancy market. It's about graphs. So we have 2 graphs. Both have on the x-axis the number of days, day 1, day 2, day 3, up to day 30. So it's just a month. And then the first graph collects the number of customers that show up. So for example, day 14 is pretty crowded, whereas day 24, nobody goes, almost nobody, 210. And then the second graph is number of sellers in each day. So how many people are selling. And of course, you're interested in going to the market in a day where there's not too many customers, because otherwise it's too crowded, and there's a lot of sellers. So you have to maximize and minimize these things. So you have to maximize sellers, minimize customers. So this is also not too straightforward, as also you can view it as a challenge. They have to choose the best day to go to the market. And so this is about reading graphs. Notice there's a lot of numerical situations dealing with data. So we're going a little bit, further in our curriculum and exploring statistics. Finally, as usually, there's some teaching tips, which here we put at the very end. And so it's about all these problems. So make sure you practice and you can read these in time. Finally, there's the student booklet, which you will see. It's anyways embedded into your instructor manual. And after this, there's the usual, surveys, mathematical, the math. And then, the leaders, these mentor leaders do this problem. So that's it. That's an overview. Be able to check other videos that explore particular activities. Good luck.